Well, we're finally here after a great regular season for the Calgary Flames in 2021-22. They have qualified themselves into the Stanley Cup Playoffs, which means now it's time for an episode of Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome back to another episode of my Calgary Flames in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Here we are, finally previewing the first round. Still in Season 4, episode number 16, as now we'll talk about and preview the Calgary Flames first round series. I was 80% certain we were going to draw the Nashville Predators in the first round. However, how things worked out on the last day of the regular season, we ultimately draw the Dallas Stars. So yeah, we're going to be taking on the Dallas Stars. So bring on the Dallas Stars, as I think I'm going to loosely call this series the Bubble Rematch. As you recall, the Calgary Flames took on the Dallas Stars a couple of years ago in the bubble in August, and we certainly know how that turns out. So in recent history, you could say this is the second time we're playing the Stars. However, when I look at the franchise history, this is the third time we are playing the Stars franchise, if you include the Minnesota North Stars. So before I get into notes and preview and look at the schedule and just give my feel on what to expect in the series and who I think is ultimately going to win the series. If you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans' journey, home the Flames, Hitman, Roughnecks, Stampeders, as well as the Calgary FC, just make sure you like, subscribe, as I mostly do Calgary sports on my YouTube channel, but I do have a variety of non-sports content on my YouTube channel, my library. I just haven't had as much time to make any of those videos recently, like personal vlogs, attempt to comedy. I also do share my experience on the road or sporting and vlogging to go. So if that all sounds like it'd be interesting to watch, to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, you know, you do just make sure you like, subscribe. I have my other social links down in the description below. And given how great this regular season went for the Calgary Flames, I have higher expectations on this team this year. And I'm thinking this Calgary sports fans journey, based on some experts, I should be extremely happy when Canada Day and the Stampede rolls around, if you know what I mean. So let's bring on the notes and let's recap, or start previewing, I should say, the first round matchup, as we are going to be taking on the Dallas Stars. So how do we get here? Well, the Calgary Flames, they finished first in the Pacific Division. They had 50 wins, 21 losses, 11 overtime or shield losses, which gave them 111 points. First in the Pacific Division, but not first in the Western Conference. So which means we get to take on the first wildcard team, which happened to be the Dallas Stars. And the Dallas Stars, they finished their regular season with 46 wins, 30 losses, and 8 overtime and shield losses for 98 points. That put them fourth in the Central Division, so 5 teams in the Central Division made the playoffs versus 3 in the Pacific. Now what gets interesting is you could say the Calgary Flames record is a little more balanced. As at home, they were 25-9-7, and away they were 25-12-4. So it seems like no matter if we're wearing our beautiful red or white jerseys, we are just as good of a chance of winning. However, for the Dallas Stars, this is where maybe we can make some hay at home in front of the Sea of Red, and maybe have to pull our training staffs a little tighter on the road, because the Dallas Stars, at home, they actually have a few more wins at home than the Calgary Flames did. Home, Dallas is 27, 10-4. However, away from the American Airlines Arena for the Dallas Stars, they are 19, 20-2. So I'm going to say the Calgary Flames might have a chance to make some hay, take advantage of the Sea of Red, given those records. So the quick leaders for both sides, well, the Calgary Flames ultimately, we were led by Johnny Gaudreau. Can we say he was playing for a contract this year? As he led the team with 115 points, which is second most in franchise history, only behind Kent Nilsson in the 1980-81 series, where he scored a franchise record of 131 points. I'm going to still say that number is safe right now, considering since the Stanley Cup era. I think I remember Sidney Crosby had the most points in a season with 125. So unless we get a generational talent, I still think Kent Nilsson's record is safe unless offense picks up in more in the NHL. So now when it comes to goals, both Tkachuk and Elias Lindholm had 42 each to lead the team. And then Johnny Gaudreau led the team with 75 assists. And our goaltender is Jacob Markstrom. He had 37 wins, 15 losses, and 9 overtime or shield losses with a 2.22 goals against average, a 9.22 save percentage with 9 shutouts. I'm going to say our leaders are definitely going to give us an advantage over the Dallas Stars. Because if you look at the Dallas Stars leaders, the leading scorer was Joe Pavelski, who definitely has a knack for being big in the playoffs, but he had 81 points. However, the Dallas Stars leading goal scorer is Jason Robertson. He had 41 goals, so one less behind both Tkachuk and Elias Lindholm, and Joe Pavelski led the way with 54 assists. However, I think the Dallas Stars, basically with Ropey Hintz, Jason Robertson, Joe Pavelski, that's their top line. I'm going to say that's where the offense really tails off. Yes, the Calgary Flames have a stacked number one line, but I think the top three lines for sure could outscore the Dallas Stars, in my mind. And then when it comes to goaltending, Dallas Stars, I guess, are going to go with Jake Oettinger. As Jake Oettinger, he has 30 wins, 15 losses, and 1 overtime shield loss. He has a 253 goals against average and a 914 save percentage. So that is kind of quick leaders for both the Calgary Flames and the Dallas Stars. I'm going to say the Calgary Flames leaders, in terms of numbers wise, are a lot more stacked than the Dallas Stars, where Calgary has the advantage. But Dallas won't be any pushover ever either, as when we look at the season series. So playoff history, well, both of these teams started off their franchises elsewhere before where they are now. So if you look at the Flames side of it, when it comes to the Atlanta Flames / Calgary Flames playoff history, and what I plan to do is if we go further in the playoffs, I'll do playoff histories by round. So let's say if you get the second round, we'll just break down the second rounds and going on, depending how far it goes. So the Calgary Flames started off in Atlanta for 8 seasons, from 1970 through to 1973 season till the 1979-80 season before they moved up here in Calgary. The Atlanta Flames actually made the playoffs 6 out of 8 years. They only missed in 1973 and 1975. However, in those 6 playoff seasons that the Atlanta Flames made the playoffs, they only won 2 games. They only won 1 game in 1977 and 1 game in 1980. So the Atlanta Flames had pretty good regular seasons, but they never got out of the first round, which definitely feels more familiar with the Calgary Flames after they won the Stanley Cup. So that's where I still feel we're favored, but it's the playoff success in the past or lack thereof. So now if we go to the Calgary Flames, well, the Flames franchise actually existed for 50 years because the Calgary Flames has been around for 42 years, as they started in 1980-81 till present. This is the 25th playoff appearance in 42 years, so we definitely had a few droughts in there. And I actually mentioned we advanced past the first round on only 8 of the 25 times. That includes this season yet to be determined. The last time the Calgary Flames got out of the first round was in 2015. In overall conference finals, Calgary's made 4 appearances in the conference finals in 1981, 1986, 1989, and 2004. And they went to the finals 3 times in 1986, 1989, and 2004. So that's the quick Calgary Flames, Atlanta Flames playoff history. So now if you look at the Stars, well, the Dallas Stars started off as the Minnesota North Stars. So if you look at the Minnesota North Stars first, they played 26 seasons in Minnesota, starting in 1967-68, so they were part of the 6 teams that came in the expansion from the original 6. And they played in Minnesota until 1992-93. So they made the playoffs in 17 of 26 seasons. They advanced past the first round in 8 seasons. Talk about the Minnesota North Stars. The last time they did that as the Minnesota North Stars was in 1991. And the Minnesota North Stars, they actually made 4 appearances in the conference finals. 1980, 1981, same year as the Calgary Flames, 1984 and 1991. And then they went to the finals twice. In 1981, where ultimately they lost to the heavily favored New York Islanders. And in 1991, where they lost to the heavily favored Pittsburgh Penguins. So the Minnesota North Stars, when they went far in the playoffs, they were on a Cinderella run. And the Minnesota North Stars never won the Stanley Cup. This is the Minnesota North Stars part of the franchise I'm talking about. So now, with the team in Dallas, they've been the Dallas Stars for 26 seasons, since 1993 to 94 till now. They made the playoffs in 17 of 28 seasons, so the Dallas Stars have been in the playoffs a few more times on a percentage basis than the Calgary Flames have. They advanced past the first round in 10 seasons. The last time that happened, we know too well, was in 2020, when we lost to the Dallas Stars. And then they made the conference finals in 5 times. In 1988, 1999, 2000, 2008, and 2020. And then the Dallas Stars have been in the Stanley Cup Finals in 3 times, 1999, 2000, and 2020. So interestingly, we'll get to touch on that the winner of this matchup ultimately went on to the Stanley Cup Final. And then of course the Stanley Cup Championships, Calgary had their one in 1989, and Dallas had their one in 1999. So when it comes to the playoff history, well, in 1991, this is where I'm going to say the first time that these 2 teams met, when it was the Calgary Flames and the Minnesota North Stars. This was in 1981. This was the Stanley Cup semifinal. Back in those days, it was the reseeded 1 through 16 matchup. And also back in those days, the Calgary Flames played in the Corral, while the Minnesota North Stars played at the Met Center. So both of those arenas are long gone. But ultimately, the Minnesota North Stars, they defeated the Calgary Flames in 6 games in 1981 to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. And then after that, the next time the Flames and Stars franchise played each other in the playoffs was in 2020. Hence the bubble matchup, the bubble rematch in the 2020 Western Conference quarterfinals. This happened in August. The Calgary Flames ultimately lost to the Dallas Stars in 6 games, and ultimately the Dallas Stars went to the Stanley Cup Finals, where in 1981, the Minnesota North Stars lost to the New York Islanders. Well, in 2020 in the bubble, the Dallas Stars lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2020. So based on this history, can we say whoever wins this series will go on to the Stanley Cup Final? One of those series was by default, was already in the semifinals, but that's just some interesting playoff history right there between the Flames and Stars, if you include the franchises as a whole. So when it comes to the season series, this is where I'm going to still say it's no pushover, despite the fact they're playing Dallas over Nashville in the Stanley Cup Playoffs for round 1. Well, they met each other 3 times in the regular season, where Calgary actually had home ice in 2 of those 3 games. So the regular season series started, Game 10, this was on Thursday, November the 4th. The Calgary Flames lost to Dallas 4-3 in overtime. almost got to take that with a grain of salt, considering in overtime in the regular season is 3 on 3, 5 minutes, while overtime is sudden death. So the next time Calgary played Dallas was on game 41 at exactly the halfway point of the season. This happened on Tuesday, February the 1st. The Calgary Flames beat Dallas in Dallas 4-3, so we got some revenge. And then game 78, which I did say at that time, potential first round playoff preview. This happened on Thursday, April the 21st. The Calgary Flames won 4-2 at home. So if you look at the season series, depending on how you slice it, you could say the Calgary Flames were 2-0-1, where we won 2, lost 1 in overtime. Well, if you're at the Dallas Stars' point of view, they could say they were 1-2 in the regular season, where they won 1, but it was in overtime and lost 2 in regulation. So if you look at the season series, that also favors the Calgary Flames, but none of these games were blowouts, as one went to overtime. One was a one-goal game, and I think that there was an empty netter in that game as well, where Calgary pulled that one out through late. So I'm going to say this will still be a tight series with close games. So now if you look at the team rankings for both sides, this is where it gets interesting, where it definitely favors one team over the other. So the Calgary Flames, when it comes to goals for, this is, I'm going to say, the Flames' strength. They scored 293 goals, which put them 6th in the National Hockey League. You could also say maybe a bigger strength of a team is our defensive play and goaltending. And goals against, the Calgary Flames allowed 208, which put them 3rd in the NHL. Only behind the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes, if I remember, when I looked at the team rankings. So Calgary's in the top 10 in both critical categories in goals for and goals against. So when it comes to special teams, I'm going to say we're also going to have an edge in that. As on the power play, Calgary was 22.9%, which put them 10th in the NHL. While the penalty kill, you could say just as critical as the Calgary Flames were 83.2%, put them 6th in the league. So all the main vital stats, the Calgary Flames were in the top 10 in the National Hockey League. Now when it comes to the Dallas Stars, this is where it gets very interesting. The Dallas Stars, when it comes to goals for, they scored 238th, which was 21st in the NHL, which is the lowest rank of all the teams that made the playoffs. Goals against, the Dallas Stars are in the middle of the pack at 246, which puts them 14th in the league. If you just recently heard, the goals against number is actually a little larger than the goals for number. So the Dallas Stars goal differential is 14 on the negative side. Actually 8 I should say, because they scored 238 and they allowed 246. So, the Calgary Flames definitely have the edge in that. Power play, actually the Dallas Stars are just below the Calgary Flames, as the Dallas Stars power play is 22.4%, which puts them 11th. Calgary was 10th. But the penalty kill, this definitely could determine the series. The penalty kill definitely is much stronger for the Calgary Flames, as the penalty kill is 79% for the Dallas Stars. That puts them 19th. And I think there is one team that's below them that made the playoffs when it comes to team stats. So everything is still looking like this should favor the Calgary Flames. But I've seen this movie before. I've seen this movie before 3 years ago in that Colorado series, and many times in the 1990s. We actually need to play the games to get over this hump. So the last part of this, before we get into my final thoughts and prediction, is the schedule itself. So the round 1 Western Conference quarterfinals, where you have the Calgary Flames, the first place team in the Pacific Division, taking on the first place wildcard team in the Dallas Stars. So game 1, this will be on Tuesday, May the 3rd, as the Calgary Flames will get home ice in the first 2 games. Game 1 will be at the Scotiabank Saddledome, 8 p.m. puck drop, which is also known as past my bedtime o'clock, so that's going to suck for me. Game 2 will be on Thursday, May the 5th, as the Calgary Flames will be at home another 8 p.m. puck drop or another past my bedtime o'clock. So the first 2 games will be a Tuesday, Thursday night, 8 o'clock puck drop at Scotiabank Saddledome. And then when the series shifts to Dallas, Game 3, this will be on Saturday, May the 7th, as the game will be in Dallas at the American Airlines Arena. That will be a 7:30 p.m. puck drop. Still late, but don't have to work the next day, so at least that game I can be a little more engaged in. And then Game 4 will be on Monday, May the 9th, as the series will still be in Dallas. That will be another 7:30 puck drop at the American Airlines Arena. This is when we get back to past my bedtime o'clock. Then the games 5, 6, and 7, of course, if it's necessary, depending on how the series plays out. Game 5 will be back in Calgary on Wednesday, May 11th at the Scotiabank Saddledome, but TBD for puck drop. Guess depends on scheduling and who's still playing, but probably going to be another 8 o'clock puck drop. And then if we need Game 6, this will be on Friday, May 13th, back in Dallas. That's a TBD as well at the American Airlines Arena. Could we see 7:30? Because more often than not, these TBDs ultimately turn out to be the same game time, especially if there's still other series going on. And then if this game needs all 7 games, Game 7, this will be on Sunday, May the 15th, as the series will be back in Calgary for our 7th final game. If you need it, that would be also another TBD at the Scotiabank Saddledome. I'm going to say if you need all 7 games, and that might be the only game left, that game might start a little earlier. But that is the schedule when it comes to the Calgary Flames. So my final thoughts of this matchup, I was hoping for a Calgary-Nashville playoff series, even though I think this series will be a little easier for the Calgary Flames to advance because it'll be less physical, but it's definitely going to be less entertaining compared to what we saw with Flames and Predators games. But that being said, I'm going to say, given the Calgary Flames makeup, I'm going to say our scoring depth, our top line definitely outpaces Dallas's. I'm going to say if we shut down Dallas's, top line, if you look at the offense, Calgary definitely has the better offense with the top line, but we have 3 scoring lines, especially if Toffoli gets going again, Mangiapane gets going. How about Dylan Dubé? He's suddenly been a machine. And then, of course, could Lucic channel his playoff form, found a youth, and do his run like he did with the Boston Bruins? I'm going to say Calgary definitely has the advantage when it comes to forwards. Defense, John Klingberg and what's his name? John Klingberg, as well as, he's forgetting his name. There's Klingberg and Mira Heiskanen. That's the name I thought of. Those are the 2 stud defensemen for the Dallas Stars, but I think collectively as a 6-person unit for the Calgary Flames, Rasmus Andersson definitely has the offense, and Chris Tanev, but with Nikita Zadorov, stocking defenseman, and Eric Branson. I'm going to say Branson and Lucic are definitely 2 players that aren't afraid to share their knuckles if they need to. The defense, I'm going to say, definitely gives Calgary an edge. And then goaltending for sure. Jacob Markstrom. Jake Gaudreau just could be a coming out party for the Dallas Stars. And then the fact that they also have on the roster, not too sure what their statuses are, that they got Braden Holtby and Tkachuk. Those are 2 players, goaltenders that also have brought in other Stanley Cup. Braden Holtby with the Washington Capitals, and Tkachuk, where he led the Dallas Stars in the bubble to the Stanley Cup Finals. So they do have backups that have been to the show before, while Dan Vladar is still somewhat of an unproven commodity in the playoffs. He definitely had a solid regular season. So I'm going to say the 3 facets in the game, offense, defense, and goaltending, comes to the Calgary Flames, and of course behind the bench. Calgary's got Darryl. Dallas also has a respected veteran coach in Rick Bowness, but he's been more of an assistant most of his time. He was the head coach of the Dallas Stars when he led them to the Stanley Cup Finals in the bubble, but I think Darryl is definitely going to be the other X factor with the Calgary Flames, how he's got this team going, playing committed defensively, and the fact that he's got 2 cups, you can arguably 3, as he was the head coach back in 2004 for the Calgary Flames, so he has been to the show before many times, and I think this team, if we can play to our potential, we should be able to beat the Dallas Stars easily in 5, maybe 6 games, but I'm expecting Calgary to advance, and I think if we get out of that hump in that first round, I'm expecting Calgary to at least get to the conference championship. It would be a complete disaster and disappointed if we do not get out of the first round, but I expect this team, it's different from 3 years ago, how we're constructed, how we're built. I expect this team to at least get the conference championship. And you know what? I'm not actually going to be crazy to think. I think this team has what it takes to go all the way, so that I can have a very happy Canada Day and start of the Stampede with the Stanley Cup, because the Stanley Cup Playoffs starting now early in May, and it's going to go on. I think June 30th actually is the last possible date that they have put in the calendar for the Stanley Cup if it goes to 7 games. So it would be an extremely happy Canada Day if the Calgary Flames do indeed win the Stanley Cup. I'm definitely open for Calgary and Tampa Bay just for a rematch and revenge. However, it'd be really, really awesome if it was Calgary over Toronto to have an all-Canadian Stanley Cup final matchup. But in the meantime, we need to take care of the Dallas Stars. So the next episode will obviously be recapping, hopefully as winners against the Dallas Stars, and then the episode after that, if needed, will be their preview the second round. So what do you think of the Calgary Flames' chances against the Dallas Stars? I think we should be able to take them out in 5 or 6 games if everything goes as planned and everybody plays to their full potential who we have made up. But that's just my preview, and let's hope this is not the second last episode for Season 4. So anyways, I'd like to say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans' journey, home the Flames, him and Roughnecks Stampeders, as well as the Calgary FC, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, as I mostly do talk Calgary sports on my YouTube channel, recap games and stories. I also do a variety of non-sports content when I have time, like personal vlogs, attempt at comedy, and I also do share my experience when I'm on the road or a sport event. So if it all sounds like it'd be interesting to watch, do follow along with this Calgary sports fans' journey. You know what you do, just make sure you hit like, subscribe. I also have my other social links down in the description below for other ways to follow me. Of course, I have my second channel in Brad Hornby Shorts, where I exclusively put my short form content on there, so I'm going to do quick post-game recaps like I've done all regular season. That will continue in the playoffs. Most of these games being past my bedtime o'clock, it will be delayed, so keep that in mind, but it'll get done eventually. So I was going to say, go Flames go. Let's get the Sea of Red going, and you know, I can dream that I think this is the year for Calgary to win the Stanley Cup. But it's actually legitimate, because there's been a lot of hockey experts that actually have Calgary at least going to the conference championship and even winning it. So all those experts, I'm holding you to it. Let's hope we actually win the Stanley Cup. Be nice to actually be old enough to appreciate Calgary winning the Stanley Cup, because I was just almost 7 years old, and I wasn't as fully aware in 1989. I'll definitely be more aware in 2020. So I just want to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's take care of the Dallas Stars. One team at a time. You just need to beat 4 to win the Stanley Cup. And by the way, Stanley Cup is the most impressive championship trophy in all sports. So thank you.